Kia ora guys and welcome back to my channel. My name's Max and a massive thank you to my patrons, as I say to begin every single video. As YouTube is no longer my full-time job, I have taken a bit longer to produce this video, but for today's upload it's going to be my Six Nations team of the tournament. As you guys know, I do start these videos off with the backs and everything, but as the Six Nations is a bit of a shorter tournament, I've opted not to choose a bench of players to be replacements. And just to let you know as well guys, with the first slide I've got for today's video, it is my criteria. So as you can read, the minimum amount of game time a player has to have for the tournament, it was 3 games, while the forwards had to have a tackle percentage of 80% or higher, hence why Ollie Chesham ended up missing out at lock. But as I said before, we'll start off with the backline, and at 9 I've got Jamison Gibson Park, the scrum half who has recently obtained his Irish citizenship. He had one heck of a tournament, getting 1 try, running over 100 metres courtesy of a little stint he had on the wing to finish off one of the Irish games. He also was the top passer of the tournament, passing the ball 333 times, while he also made 3 try assists. He was very, very good on defence as well. 86% is, well, that's a very high rate for a scrum half defending against an opposition side. With Antoine Dupont, I was like, oh man, it's actually going to be quite hard to pick a 9, but as the tournament went on, it just became so obvious. Jamison Gibson Park, the way he runs the game, it just made it feel as if Johnny Sexton never left to begin with, while he also had a very good performance at the end of the tournament, getting player of the match against Scotland. The other compartments to the reason it felt like Sexton never left was Jack Crowley, hence why I've selected him as my fly half. Crowley played all 400 minutes available to players throughout the tournament, and he was simply put a star with a very high kicking rate, scoring 52 points in total including a test try. He was also a very, very good runner with the ball in hand, as the statistics are showing us. He also offers 39 carries, made 163 passes, 5 offloads and 1 try assist. So while he's definitely not shy with running with the ball, he's also a world-class distributor. Ireland were really able to vary their ability to play off either 9 or 10, and the key to have a great attack structure, it's being able to play off any playmaker in any scenario. You can turn your game plan into one that's based around what's in front of you. Jack Crowley was a key to this. As well, his defence, excellent stuff with 81% as his tackle ratio. He was without question the best fly half in this Six Nations Championship. He is going to be one of the greats if he can keep up this momentum, but fingers crossed it won't get to his head, because wowzers, Jack Crowley really does have limitless potential. On the left wing, I've gone for Duhan van der Merwe, who was definitely in the conversation for player of the tournament as the votes came in, but I'm not going to give van der Merwe player of the tournament as well. Being a winger, you're going to have a quiet game sometimes, and in other games, you're going to absolutely spring to life. He was, however, the top try scorer, only missing 2 minutes of the tournament due to a yellow card against the English, with 5 tries as well. Not bad to have a try per game ratio, especially considering, a few decades ago, Scotland weren't really much of a try-scoring team. His running game was phenomenal as well, able to run 355 metres, beat 15 defenders and make 6 line breaks. While his 13 passes, could have been improved on, that's all good. He is a power winger, and with the way Scotland have their attack, they always have that extra fullback in the 14 jersey, so this isn't necessarily the role of van der Merwe is being asked to fill in, so that's all good. His tackle percentage wasn't necessarily the best, but with, only 23 attempts, I don't think we can read into this too much, and well, guys, need I say more about that phenomenal performance against the English, which contributed towards half of his line breaks? Duhan van der Merwe is only 2 tries away from being the outright record try scorer for Scotland. Fingers crossed he can get the record by the end of the year. Now, even though Bundy Aki got nominated for Player of the Championship, I don't feel he necessarily stood out too much in comparison to the amazing world-class season he had in 2023. So, as there were 3 contenders for my number 13 jersey who all put in a really strong case, I've decided to go for Gail Figu as my 12, as he's able to play on the wing at 12 and at 13. Simply put, you would not think that this guy is still 29 years old based on the fact that he is so close to 100 tests, but simply put, He is playing some of his best rugby in a long time, Gael Fiku. He got 3 tries in the tournament and played every minute available as well, just like Jack Crowley. His metres run were also quite a high total of 307. This is the most running of the ball we've seen him do for a long time. The way he just comes in and acts as that extra playmaker as well, it's massive for the French attack with 33 passes, 5 offloads and 1 try assisting, comparing to 39 carries. Just a massive pass to carry ratio. Unbelievably excellent as a playmaker, Gael Fiku, while his tackle percentage, need I say more, he is the defensive captain, so you can expect him to have a very high tackle percentage, and for this tournament it was 93%. He had a massive, massive year, so I couldn't just exclude him from the list. And so with Hugh Jones as my outside centre, that means Nacho Brex is without question the best player of the tournament who couldn't make it into this team. Hugh Jones is the best centre in the world, as I said in the end of 2023, and he justified that belief of mine once again with the fact that he played all but 3 minutes of the championship, while he only got the 1 try to finish off against the Irish. As usual, he ran a lot of metres with 326 in total, while he also made 23 passes and 3 try assists off his 34 carries. He's always a very, very dangerous ball runner, as the defenders beaten in line break stats show us, but of course his defence is always solid, you can rely on him, and with him reaching the 80% threshold, I mean, my point about his defence stands again, he's very good at that. Well, he was also able to win 3 turnovers, definitely helping Scotland out on both sides of the ball. As we now move over to number 14, that's Damien Penaud. Although last year I believe he was the best player in the world, I'm not just going to outright give him player of the tournament because much like Duhan van der Merwe, he was excellent in some games and he was quiet in others. That's just the nature of wearing jersey 11 and jersey 14 on your back. Penaud, though, was still very industrious for France. When he did get the ball, he played all 400 minutes that were available. Again, he only got the 1 try, but he was absolutely devastating with the ball in hand, racking up 422 metres, 27 defenders beaten, and 11 line breaks. Though I do kind of want to contest because I think the defenders beaten total might be a little bit higher. The thing is as well, despite the fact that he wears 14 on his back, he is well and truly a bloke who is a centre at heart with his 36 passes, his 3 try assists, his game high 11 offloads, the most of anyone of the tournament. He's just beautiful with both sides of the attack, and on defence as well, he's world class. He was able to complete 81% of his tackles and also won 2 turnovers. The guy's an absolute freak, one in a generation player, so even though his try scoring ratio has come down since last year, I couldn't just leave him off the team sheet. Ange Capuozzo as well, very, very good. He's getting better as well, which is unbelievably awesome news for the Italians. Though injury did see him restricted to just 3 games, he played the full 80 every single time he got picked, so that makes him more than eligible for the team. Capuozzo, as you can see, runs a lot of metres thanks to the fact that he plays at fullback, but his ability to defeat defenders and break the line, it is second to none. These are pretty good totals despite the fact he played just 3 games, and as we can see, his passing game is starting to get better. With just 23 carries, he was able to make 16 passes and 1 offload, so it's definitely improving. While we probably can't read into the tackle percentage too much either, I do believe Capuozzo's kicking game is also improving, which is, excellent news for Italian fans. Now guys, we're just going to go for a bit of an ad break, then we'll get to the forward pack. We start the forward pack off with the bloke who I think is runner-up for player of the tournament, Andrew Porter. I've rated him for a long, long time. He was on my reserves for my World 15 for both 2022 and 2023 because he is one of the best loose head props in the Irish rugby history. The guy as well, despite playing at number 1, he played 318 minutes. The fitness on this bloke is absolutely unbelievable. Great to see him add to his try tally as well when they faced off against the Scottish. Porter as well, despite the fact that he doesn't really gain too many metres thanks to his position, is a very hard worker with the fact that he made 37 carries. He's always putting those hands up, asking, I want to take the ball, I want to help set up for the strike moves. So while his metres run ratio aren't necessarily the best, he's a very hard worker, as that stat also shows us. As he's a prop, he's always going to have a high tackle percentage, while the fact that he's always willing to contest at the breakdown there, rather, it allowed him to win 4 turnovers. That's a major factor of what sets him apart from other props. It's not just the fitness, the work rate, it's also his ability over the ball. Ireland as a team as well had the highest scrum percentage of any nation in the tournament with 93%, hence why Porter deserves to be in here. While Dan Sheehan I think is probably a better player than Jamie George, Jamie George simply put did so much more for the English team than Dan Sheehan did for the Irish team, and as it's a team of the tournament, it's not necessarily about the best, it's about who adds the most to their team. Jamie George, despite the passing of his mother during the tournament, continued to play for his nation because he thought, you know what, this is what my mum would have wanted, and his line out throwing ratio was 91%. That was the highest throwing rate of any hooker in the tournament. George, as well, is not too bad with running the ball, even though he's starting to get a bit older at 33 years old. He was able to make 53 metres with ball in hand off 19 carries, and of course win 2 turnovers. So while he's always playing as an on field coach, coaching the other players about where to be to make their tackles, he does make a fair few himself, and playing 315 minutes throughout the tournament as well, of a possible 400, it goes to show his importance to this English team, whereas the Irish, they can just pull on Ronan Kelleher whenever they feel it. George is going to be instrumental for Steve Borthwick's side going forward, and so I have to congratulate him on a heck of a tournament, and whatever happens, his mother will be very proud with how England finished off. Now at number 3, I've got Tadhg Furlong. I started to think at the end of last year maybe he's falling off a little bit, but with Ireland continuing to have a very high scrum percentage, well, I had to pick Tadhg Furlong with a 96% tackle rate as well. He is very industrious as a defender. It's also great to see Furlong averaging a metre per carry despite his position, so once again, he's very hard to stop when he's in the tight spaces of the pitch. He did play 4 games due to an injury for one of them, but overall, Tadhg Furlong is without question the greatest tight head prop to ever play for Ireland at this point, and long may we continue to see his dominance at the scrum. Now, over to the locks. Well, as I normally do, I wanted to pick a guy from every single nation, and I've gone for Dafydd Jenkins, the Welsh captain at just 21 years old, playing some very, very good rugby. He was one of the top tacklers of the tournament with 85 attempts overall and a 93% ratio. He was also very, very active stealing opposition ball. He was able to win 4 turnovers, while he also stole 2 lineouts throughout the duration of the tournament. While Wales are in a very bad injury crisis right now and also having a bit of a financial issues off the field, Jenkins is still a very hard worker and embodies the spirit of Welsh rugby that will always be there no matter what their results are. He was also able to make more metres than he did carry, so that's excellent. With 17 passes as well, that's not too bad for distribution from a lock. He's very, very promising. As he's such a young guy, I think he could still get better, and with the fitness he showed playing every single minute of the tournament, I do think Jenkins is probably going to reach 100 tests if he can avoid injury, especially considering how Welsh rugby is. The other lock, as Ollie Chesham couldn't get in due to his tackle percentage, I want to congratulate Maro Itoje on doing a bit of a similar thing to Tadhg Furlong. I thought that Itoje was starting to fall off, starting to get a bit old, but he has played his best rugby since the 2021 British and Irish Lions tour. Itoje is another player who played every single minute in the tournament, and he also made 49 metres, 4 defenders beaten, 1 line break off 28 carries, his 17 passes and his 1 try assist. Very, very good pass to carry ratio for a forward as well, as he is one of the best defensive locks England's ever had. Well, his 6 turnovers and 95% tackle ratio, they don't surprise me at all. The way that he's got such a long wingspan for a bloke that's just 6'5" as well, it's very, very useful for him, and it helped him to win that 1 line-out steal. Itoje, I think, is going to be in it for the long haul, and he could still reach 100 tests. I don't think he's going away quite yet. I think he's still got a few years left in his international career. As we now get to the loose forwards, I've got the second of my 2 Welsh players, that's Tommy Reffell. Although he was on the losing team, I think he's probably the most improved player of the tournament. And Reffell's improvements, to me, they really show when you look at his activity both on and off the ball. With 51 metres, 2 line breaks, 8 defenders beating 36 carries, he's becoming much more of an attacking threat, and in the past that was an area of his game that I felt needed improvements, whereas he was also one of the top tacklers of the tournament with 93%, and the top turnover winner of the tournament. He was able to jackal the ball 11 times, and considering he played 5 games, that's an average of over 2 turnovers per match. Tommy Reffell, after being overshadowed by Jack Morgan quite a lot last year, I think is starting to kind of step out of that shadow, and maybe, Wales are going to go forward with a third lock at 6. Maybe if, Jack Morgan sticks around when he returns from injury, that could be a good idea if Aaron Wainwright gets injured. Wales always need options, and Tommy Rafael being in that mix, that gives them a really, really good option of how they can have their loose forward set up. As we now arrive at my second of the two Italian players, Michele Lamaro is definitely my number 7 for this tournament. The most disappointing thing about Italian rugby last year was the way that he really fell off in terms of form, but he is well and truly back with the vengeance. The most likeable captain in world rugby has already made over 100 tackles in 2024, which is absolutely mad, especially when you consider the fact that he attempted 115 and still had a 90% tackle ratio. With the 3 turnovers as well, he's still very, very active at the breakdown, despite the fact that he's normally filling in as a fringe guard on defence. He's back to his best on attack as well, with his 78 metres and 2 defenders beaten off 35 carries, and the fact that he's made 34 passes and 2 offloads, more distributions than he's made carries, that's very, very impressive work for an open side flanker, especially when you consider he played the full 80 in every single match. The dude is a far better player than Sergio Parise ever was, and the way he's such an inspirational leader is going to help Italy really recover from a bit of an embarrassing 2023. Long may their improvements continue. We're now going to wrap up today's video with my player of the tournament, Caelan Doris. Ben Earl is definitely a very hard worker, but ultimately, Caelan Doris was a lot more active on both sides of the ball in comparison to Earl. For example, he made more tackles, and with 56 out of 66, that was a higher ratio. While he only won 1 turnover, he's always filling in as a fringe guard at the edge of the breakdown to be able to make these robust hits, whereas Earl is kind of hiding behind, similarly to Jamie George, if George is unable to coach the boys on where to be on defence. Doris as well, though, ran over 276 metres, very good stuff, and played the full 80 in every single match. Doris is a lot better of a distributor as well. He made 33 passes and 2 offloads as well as 1 try assist in comparison to his 56 carries. Very, very high metre total, as I said once again. And of course, Doris played every minute available because he's so active on both sides of the ball. He's such a solid line-out operator. He's a great jackal threat, even though he doesn't necessarily go in to win the turnover all the time. As he's such an accurate defender, he has to be my player of the tournament. I think Caelan Doris is in a good shout to be the next British and Irish Lions captain, though he's never been on a tour before, and it was amazing to see him captain Ireland for the first time during this tournament. I think the bloke was born to lead the Irish, and ultimately, him as captain going forward, it's a much better option than James Ryan. I think he's going to be an exceptional force for Ireland for years and years and years to come. Caelan Doris, without question, player of the tournament. We'll now recap on the full team with this one final graphic here as well, because, well, I'm really happy I was able to pick multiple players from every single nation, even though France did fall off a bit during the tournament, and even though England's did play a bit boring during the early stages of the tournament. I think ultimately every single team of the Six Nations, apart from Scotland, is absolutely, without question, headed in the right direction. No question there, guys. Thank you so much for watching this video as well, guys. Really appreciate your support. Definitely check out some of the other videos I've made on this channel, mostly analysis videos on the tactics we've seen in the Six Nations. My next video is going to be on a possible British and Irish Lions squad for next year, so definitely check that one out. I'll see you later, guys. Really appreciate you once more. Cheers for watching from Max.